The war had been going on for longer than I'd been alive, but like most people on the edge of known space, I believed it would never reach us. Wars belong to the core systems, bright, wealthy star clusters filled with politics, ancient alliances, and powerful species who had been fighting each other since before humans discovered faster-than-light travel. Out here, on the fringe, we were invisible, too small to conquer, too poor to matter. That illusion ended the night the sky broke. My name is Calder Voss, and I was a salvage pilot working the debris fields near Epsilon Drift, a dying system littered with the remains of battles no one bothered to clean up. My job was simple: recover usable tech, avoid unexploded ordnance, and don't ask who originally owned what I found. I lived alone on a converted freighter called the Wayfarer's Luck. It wasn't fast and it wasn't pretty, but it kept me alive. That night, I was finishing a routine sweep when my sensor screamed. Multiple hyperspace ruptures. Military grade. I barely had time to curse before the stars twisted violently, tearing open like wounds in reality itself. Warships poured through. Massive, angular vessels marked with the crimson sigil of the Virex Dominion, the most aggressive force in the ongoing galactic war. They weren't supposed to be here. Epsilon Drift wasn't strategic. There were no planets worth taking. No stations of value. Which meant only one thing. They were hunting. I killed my engines and cut all emissions, drifting silently among shattered hulls and frozen corpses of old ships. From my cockpit window, I watched as the Dominion fleet fanned out, weapons primed. Then the battle began. Something answered them. A smaller force emerged from hyperspace, sleek, iridescent ships moving with impossible grace. Their hulls glowed faintly, traced with living light. I recognized them instantly. The Ashari, an ancient species. Pacifists by reputation. Scholars and architects of harmonic technology that could reshape stars themselves. They had avoided the war for decades, refusing to choose sides. Apparently, that mercy had run out. The battle was short and brutal. The Dominion outnumbered them 3-1. Plasma fire lit the void. Ashari ships shattered in radiant explosions, scattering shards of light that slowly dimmed as their power cores failed. I should have run. Instead, I watched. When it was over, only wreckage remained. And one escape pod. It tumbled helplessly through space, its trajectory decaying toward the system's dying star. Without thinking, I broke silence and burned hard. The survivor. The escape pod was Ashari design, organic curves, translucent shell, barely holding together. My ship's tractor beam latched on just as the pod's hull began to crack. I hauled it into my cargo bay and sealed the doors. The moment I opened the pod, warm air rushed out, carrying the scent of ozone and something faintly floral. Inside was a woman, or at least something close enough that my brain insisted on calling her that. She was tall and slender, her skin a soft, pearlescent blue marked with faint bioluminescent patterns that pulsed weakly. Her hair, or whatever passed for it, flowed like liquid silver around her face. Her eyes were closed, but even then, I could tell they weren't human. She was bleeding light. Literally. Thin fractures along her arms and side leaked luminous energy, flickering like dying stars. Okay, I muttered. That's new. I wasn't a medic, but I'd patched myself up enough times to know basic field treatment. I activated my med bay, which protested loudly at being asked to analyze alien biology. Do it anyway, I snapped. The system whined, then complied. As it worked, the woman stirred. Her eyes opened. They were a deep, radiant gold, and when they focused on me, I felt something pressed gently against my mind. Not invasive, not hostile. Curious. Fear hit me a second later. She recoiled, trying to sit up, energy flaring weakly around her. "Easy," I said, raising my hands. "You're safe. I think." She froze, staring at me. "You are human," she said slowly, her voice musical, layered with harmonics that resonated in my chest. Last I checked, her expression shifted, confusion, disbelief, and then something dangerously close to grief. "I am Lyra Sale," she said, "of the Ashari Concordance." I swallowed. "You're the only one?" Her light dimmed. "Yes." Middle. Between two ruins, Lyra recovered slowly. Ashari physiology was resilient, but the wounds she'd suffered weren't just physical. Her people's technology was partially psionic, deeply intertwined with their collective consciousness. The destruction of her fleet had severed something fundamental. She was alone in a way I couldn't fully comprehend. I learned her story in fragments over long nights drifting beyond known lanes. The Ashari hadn't joined the war because they believed interference would only accelerate destruction. They had chosen isolation, moving their populations between hidden systems, preserving knowledge rather than territory. The Dominion had discovered them anyway. "They demanded our technology," Lyra told me as she gazed out at the stars. "We refused. We do not create weapons of domination." "So, they wiped you out?" "Yes." Her tone wasn't bitter, just factual. I expected her to demand I take her somewhere, anywhere. Instead, she stayed. At first, it was necessity. Dominion patrols scoured nearby systems, and moving openly was suicide. But as weeks passed, something else kept her aboard. She asked questions. About humans. About loneliness. About why I chose a life among wreckage instead of joining the war or settling on a world. "Someone has to remember what's left behind," I said once. She considered that for a long time. The Dominion eventually found us. A patrol ambushed us near a derelict station, disabling my engines with a single shot. Boarding parties were already launching when Lyra stepped into the cockpit, her presence suddenly different. Stronger. "You must trust me," she said. "I don't have a lot of options," I replied. She placed her hands against the bulkhead. The ship hummed, systems responding in ways they never had before. Space itself seemed to ripple. When the Dominion soldiers breached the hull, they found nothing. The Wayfarer's luck was gone. We re-emerged days later, half a sector away, my ship intact but forever changed. Lyra collapsed, unconscious, light flickering dangerously. She had burned something irreplaceable. "You shouldn't have done that," I said when she woke. "They would have taken you," she replied simply. "Or killed you." "Why does that matter?" I asked quietly. She looked at me, really looked. "Because you chose to save me," she said, "when my own galaxy did not." The weight of choice as Lyra healed, her abilities returned, slowly, imperfectly. She could manipulate harmonic fields, interface with technology, even bend probability in subtle ways. But each use cost her. "The Ashari were never meant to be alone," she admitted one night. "Our strength came from unity." "And now?" I asked. She hesitated. "Now I must choose what we become." The Dominion continued its expansion. Refugee broadcasts flooded every open channel, worlds burning, civilizations collapsing. The war was nearing its end, and the end favored monsters. Lyra received a transmission one cycle later. A hidden Ashari enclave had survived, barely. They were calling to her, seeking guidance. "You could rebuild," I said. "Find them. Lead them." "Yes," she said softly. "I could." She didn't sound convinced. "There's something else," she continued. "The Ashari leadership structure requires a stabilizing bond. A counterpart." I frowned. "Like a council?" "No," she said. "Like a choice." She turned to me, light rippling across her skin. Our kind forms a lifelong bond with one individual, not for reproduction, but for balance, perspective, survival. My heart pounded. And you're telling me this because? Because I have chosen you, Lyra said. I laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. I'm human. I fix broken ships for a living. You see value where others see ruin, she said. You act without expecting reward. And you saved me when you could have fled. That doesn't make me special. It makes you right, she said. The galaxy was burning. She was offering me a place in rebuilding something new. Ending. The survivor's choice, we traveled to the enclave together. Hidden within a nebula dense enough to scramble sensors, the remaining Ashari awaited their future. When they saw Lyra, hope flickered, fragile, uncertain. When they saw me, confusion followed. A human stood beside their last survivor. Lyra addressed them not as a ruler, but as a witness. Our past is gone, she said. We cannot reclaim it, but we may choose what comes next. She spoke of adaptation, of connection beyond species, of learning from those who endured without harmony or empire.
She spoke of me.
Some resisted. Others feared dilution, extinction of identity. Then the Dominion found the Enclave. The final battle was desperate and uneven. Ashari ships fought with ingenuity born of desperation. I flew escort in the Wayfarer's luck, dodging fire I had no business surviving. When the Dominion flagship charged its main weapon, Lyra stepped forward, channeling the last of the Concordance's harmonic network. She could stop it, but it would kill her. I felt it before she said anything. No, I said, grabbing her hand. There's another way. There is not, she replied gently. Yes, I said. There is. You don't do this alone. I linked my ship's systems to her interface, feeding raw human unpredictability into the harmonic field. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't safe. It worked. The Dominion weapon misfired, collapsing in on itself and tearing the flagship apart. The remaining ships fled. Lyra collapsed into my arms, alive. The Enclave survived. In the cycles that followed, something unprecedented happened. The Ashari did not retreat. They joined the wider galaxy, not as conquerors, but as healers, architects, and diplomats. Humans became their closest allies, not because of treaties, but because of trust. Lyra never became a queen. She became a guide. As for me, I never stopped being human. I just stopped being insignificant. On a quiet world beneath unfamiliar stars, Lyra took my hands, her light steady and warm. I was an alien survivor, she said. Alone in a broken galaxy. She smiled. Then I chose you. And for the first time since the war began, the universe felt like it was finally healing.